All right, we're live. Rebecca
Hello.
Cook talking to us about mental illness today. Should be very, very interesting. We have Anagen Own, right? We're going to be talking about co-parenting. Great to be with you, Corrie. Ready to roll?
Oh,
Yeah, we're on.
oh, that's fun. Showtime.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, a show about the ins and outs of family life. So your life isn't exactly as planned. Well, you're not alone, and we're here to help out. My name is Matt Del Vecchio, specializing in free retirement home search and senior transition support, along with my co-host here, Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss. Coming right up on the first half of the show, mental illness. Perhaps you're living with it, or maybe you know someone dealing with a mental health issue. Well, we have an incredible woman in studio with us with a personality disorder who she's had for a while, and she's going to help provide some great advice and maybe even some inspirational thoughts, Corrie, for us about how to navigate for those suffering through mental illness. So looking forward to that on the first half. Corrie, what's that like blue stuff outside? And
I actually I'm not wearing boots. I didn't even know where to find my shoes. I had to dig, but you know me, and you know how I feel about the winter, so this is the smile that you are seeing for this sun.
There's been a ton of smiles, lots of people outside. We absolutely need this. It's been a long, hard winter. And it's also been a long, hard winter for my iPhone, Corrie.
I know, because I'm tech support with my adapter.
Well, I tell you what. I was at the Apple store yesterday, and I have an iPhone 6, and as for many people that have iPhone 6s, your battery is shot or on the way to be needing to be replaced. They're running a great promotion, by the way. Apple, $35 for your iPhone 6 batteries. Got it done yesterday, Corrie, for two things. First of all, I had to go 2 hours without my iPhone.
Yeah, you see, I see you shaking.
Quite dramatic, quite dramatic. But you know what happened? Something incredibly happened. I actually had to talk to people.
There you go.
I actually read a physical newspaper. You know that hard copy thing with the black print on it? Yeah, I actually read one. And then I had to go back for my appointment because it was due and had no idea what time it was. So I actually had to ask someone, do you have the time? But a new battery on the iPhone, a whole new life. I am no longer a prisoner to my charger. And those listening on Life Unrehearsed Facebook Live, sometimes I wasn't even making the whole hour on the shows. Now we're going to have the full hour.
No, you're just a prisoner to the phone.
Yes, this is true.
They call it a digital umbilical cord.
Yeah, that's very
That's what I've
true.
heard.
What do we have on the second half, Corrie?
So on the second half, is co-parenting and harmony possible? What say you? Well, we have in studio Anagen Own, who is going to share with us her. She's a coach. She's the author of a book or two books that deal with this topic. So stick around because you are going to learn about how one can co-parent in harmony.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Co-parenting, obviously a big sensitive topic for those that have either gone through or going through separation or divorce, and should be quite interesting. So Corrie, let's get right into this in the first half, as mentioned. Unfortunately, there's still this stigma and discrimination about mental health, and good for Bell, and let's talk Bell days. But that's a one-day event, and people with mental health issues is a 24/7 disease for many, and extended families and loved ones, and always challenging. And this is why we're really happy to have in studio Rebecca Cook. And Rebecca, it's you've suffered from a personality disorder, and you've had to live with this, and you're thriving with it. And I want to welcome you to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah, well, thanks for being with us, and not always easy to come out and talk in public to this, so good for you,
Thank you.
Rebecca. You live with something called borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
And first of all, what is that?
So it's, it's a combination of things. It can be on the mild end or the severe end of a personality disorder. It really is on the borderline. So a lot of it is your emotions. So not being able to recognize your emotions or being able to distinct from what you're actually upset about, if you're mad, if you're angry, if you're anything. So that's more of that's mostly what it's about.
So I have to mention, I don't even know if you know this, Matt. I met Rebecca under different circumstances, and she told me right away, she disclosed this was something that she was living with, and I was so impressed that she had shared it and how she was and who she was that I said, please, she probably thought I was nuts. I said, I do this show and you've got to come on it. So I'm so thrilled that you're here. So can you talk a little bit about how it affects your day-to-day life?
Yes. I mean, for myself, I do have to stay medicated. It is something that I need. So for that, that's difficult. The challenges for that, I mean, you're constantly up and down, mood swings and bouts of depression and anxiety that can stop you from leaving the house, can stop you from, doing your job, going to school. Anything that I've had in my life has been difficult with that. So it does affect that, but there's a lot of techniques that I'll use and tricks that I'll use that can help me, ease out of it. But it's recognizing it that's the hardest.
We're talking to Rebecca Cook about personality disorder and mental health in general. And Rebecca, quite frankly, I always thought of bipolar, but borderline personality disorder is a little different than that. And you mentioned mood swings, and there's a lot of extremes in personality. So I'm assuming can't be the easiest to hold relationships with others.
It's not. It's really not. I have been in a relationship for a while. That recently ended, actually, and a lot of it is, problems that I have with myself, or the self-image that I have of myself. It can be disoriented, distorted, so there are things that with friendships, with any relationships, they're difficult. They're difficult sometimes, and you need somebody very understanding, and you need to be very open and honest about exactly what you're feeling, what you're thinking. That's the most important thing to get through.
Absolutely, and I you can hear how transparent you are and how comfortable you are, unfortunately, and that's why we're talking about this. Not everybody's so comfortable. You mentioned about something about taking meds.
Yes.
Could you describe that a little bit, please?
Yeah, it can. I'm on a high dosage of something that I take that people with depression will be normally diagnosed with. I mean, of course, there's different ways that you're going to take things. It's a trial and error thing. It can be very difficult in the beginning, but once it's regulated, it makes the world of a difference. But to get through, 6 weeks, 7-8 weeks with, being ill or just not getting better when you're really hoping you're going to get better, it just takes a little bit of time. So that's a struggle to begin with, but it does get better.
Now, Rebecca, you're bringing up a good point, because I would want to back it up a bit. We're talking meds, but even before that, in order to get the meds, you need to be diagnosed.
Yes.
And so I would imagine there's a lot of people out there struggling with, what's going on with me. And so bring me back, because there had to be an official diagnosis at one point in time, which helped navigate you now as to what your next step should be.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest for people that may be experiencing some issues, and who should they go to?
Definitely consult with their doctor. I mean, my doctor was the first person, after some trial and errors, who really pushed. And at the time that I was being diagnosed, it was a very, very bad time for me. So I was, I wasn't sure if it was depression or bipolar, or we just didn't know. And that's the scariest part, is not knowing. So once I got through the right channels and stuck it out, then, I was diagnosed that way from a bunch of tests and just my past as well.
That's Rebecca Cook. We're listening to her share her story about her diagnosis of borderline personality disorder on Life Unrehearsed with my co-host here, Matt Valdecchio. I'm Corrie and it is just so heart-wrenching in some ways to hear it, but I'm so overwhelmed by your openness to share this, because it's so important that people hear about it, and what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you?
I think realizing that this is my life now, that it'll never go away. That was the hardest part, accepting it at first, being diagnosed.
It's trying to accept it, I guess. It's just that's just with the stigma and ego, dignity. It all comes into play, and it's good for you just for having to acknowledge it and recognize it. I think too many people go in their shell and say,
Yeah.
this isn't happening to me.
Yeah.
You know, you've been already so very, very helpful. We've got to head out to traffic, but I think what we'd like to ask you, and I know Corrie and I were talking
very much so.
talking about that, is what advice, if you had to pick something, what advice would you give to someone who are going through some mental health issues for themselves, and what ideas can you point them in the right direction? But first, let's head to Lauren Glazer with a traffic update.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
So
You guys are natural. I like it. You're natural.
You see how fast we did the thing we didn't mention? How fast it goes.
My God.
Like you were like, but I did that, but I haven't said it. Yeah. Go so fast.
and little things like Corrie is supposed to go out to traffic
Yeah.
at the 4:15, but just
we
the
saw
way
the
our
time,
questions
the way
worked,
our questions
It
worked.
we try to go
Right.
back and forth, and
Yeah, so
so
we'll just that's why we know and how we're gonna do it. So we're gonna come back. You want me to come back with the question?
yeah,
or you want to?
yeah, no,
I'll
no,
come
you,
back
you
with the
come back.
question, and you'll answer it, and then
So the question again being, you know, what advice can you give
Yeah.
someone with mental health?
yeah, and then
Sorry, just on that. So that will be the question. What I'd like to follow up with that is the focus so far has been on the individual who might have mental health issues. I'd like to, which could be a smaller percentage of the population, I'd like to come back with what would you recommend for those who know someone, a family member, a loved one with mental health issues, because they have to. You're going to answer whatever, you know, patients or whatever, but that's going to
Okay.
affect a lot bigger
Right.
population. So
Right.
I'd like to come back with that if that's
For
okay
sure.
with you. Okay.
so that's you would follow up with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then do you want to get into? Is it okay if we ask about have you ever felt depressed, suicidal, and what helps? Because I would like to get. I always want to move positive. So what are those coping mechanisms? That's what we'll say. You mentioned those earlier. Tell me about some, and let's share them and help, so we can help other people.
Coping mechanisms. Yeah, that's very good because everyone can learn from that.
Yeah.
You know, you're speaking from yourself and your own personality, but that could be
What's work?
mental health is just so general. you
Yeah.
know. We didn't talk. I mean, I talked about bipolar
Yeah.
briefly. I think there's some confusion between bipolar and borderline personality disorder. I don't know if you want to bring that up. That's one of our questions.
I don't know much about
Yeah,
bipolar.
Okay, so you know what? And I'd much rather focus in on
Yeah.
the general
Yeah.
issues. Okay.
It's just something when you don't feel right. I think that what something that you said that was so fantastic was essentially patience when you're taking and navigating this whole diagnosis is that it's not a quick fix.
It's not what?
It's not a quick fix.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like every day you're waking
It's
up, you
months.
got to work at it.
Yeah.
You don't have children? Do you have children?
No.
No. Okay. Was your relationship, if you don't mind me asking, was your relationship a long relationship?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
What's
Almost
this
2 years.
Matt?
Yeah.
I'm so sad.
That's-
So it has to be a recent breakup.
It's been a month and a half now.
Oh.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
So do we announce you're available on air? Now? You kind of already did that.
I know.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
you're available.
So we're going on Facebook. See, that's what happens on Facebook. What happens on Facebook stays on Facebook. This could be good. This could be very good. That's a great story to tell the kids.
Does that say mental?
Mental.
Mental.
Friends
okay.
of mental.
Friends of Mental Health, is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, I just wrote the names of the two organizations and the numbers for her. 5, 8, 5. Perfect. Anybody? No.
If we talk about outside help, like you struggle, you have to find your.
Is this us? I think it's us.
We'll see. We'll hear a song.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's us. Watch. Listen to the song.
Love it.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Serrata. I'm with my co-host Matt Delvecchio, and we are talking to Rebecca Cook about living with a mental health issue. In particular, Rebecca was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. right before we went out to traffic, Matt asked the question, but I wanted to ask the question.
Sorry.
So Matt asked the question, and I'm going to follow up with the question around what advice would you give others who are living with a mental health issue? What would you suggest?
My biggest suggestion is to get help. I mean, it's the only thing that's going to change something, and you have to want help, you know, and that's to go for it. I don't want to say it's easy. Obviously, it's hard. It's embarrassing, but to go and to talk to somebody, to talk to a professional, and they're so non-judgmental, and that's what we worry about so much, is that we're going to be judged, and, you know, someone's looking at like, they're not normal, but it's the people that I've been surrounded with have been amazing, just amazing.
So Rebecca, let's expand on that. You know, I look at this as internal help. This is yourself trying to deal with maybe some difficulties, demons you might even call them, and there's a struggle there. And then you reach a point where, okay, I probably need some outside help. So doctor was one of them. What other outside help can you suggest?
I've called the crisis center many times, and for that I've been seen by psychologists, by social workers, and have someone to talk to. And just having someone to talk to, I mean, it literally saves my life. You know, it's saved my life a million times to have someone that just understands, you know, and doesn't make it feel like you're wrong somewhere, you know, and just it's to reach out is the best thing you can do.
And we're going to be giving some of those numbers at the end of this segment for people to call.
You mentioned that you needed that reaching out because life or things were tough.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about that? I know that we spoke off air about potentially depression, suicide, ideation.
Well, I did have many suicidal episodes where I definitely, that's the only thought. It was the only thought you could think of. I had attempted. I was hospitalized numerous times. And after that, it was get better or don't. And that was it. It was lay down, get better or don't. And I wanted to be better. And that was it. I wanna live every day. You know, I don't want to say be normal, but I want to be happy like everyone else. And I just have to work a little bit harder than some people. And
yeah, and with borderline personality disorder, that is a struggle day to day, you know. But we're talking to Rebecca Cook, by the way, who's helping us navigate through some mental health issues. Matt Del Vecchio here with Corrie Sirota on Life Unrehearsed. And Rebecca, in listening to you, these are the struggles that you've gone through, and I'm sure many people listening from the outside, we may know someone suffering from mental illness, mental health, a family member, a loved one, a boyfriend, girlfriend, who a child, yes, and they want to help in one way or another. What could you suggest for those that are on the outside, not necessarily in your bubble, but they're also suffering in a way?
Look for little things. Be aware if somebody's personality is, you know, they're not as happy, they're not going out as much. Be patient, be kind, you know, just ask how are you, and really, how are you, you know, and it's okay if you're not okay, because you're going to be okay. But if you're not okay right now, great, then let's get through it together, you know, and support is everything. Everything
that you just said was so fantastic. Everything, the kind, the support, be there, be present, be patient, all of that is just incredible. So thank you for sharing that with us. And what I wanted to also, I think it's important, I'm always about, we can't always be preventative, but when someone is struggling with any kind of issue, what kind of coping mechanisms would you suggest would be helpful?
For me, it could be different things every time. Keeping a routine is always really good. Having something to look forward to. Keeping balance in your life with exercise, with friends, with family, and taking time for yourself. And I mean really taking time for yourself. If it's taking a bath, take a bath for yourself. You know, light the candles and make yourself a nice dinner. But little things that you like to do, that only you like to do, is it makes a big difference in your day overall.
And it's interesting because of the disease of borderline personality disorder, you have these extremes and these mood swings. And what you're saying is keep yourself checked and balanced, and which might not, it's easier said than done for someone with what you've been diagnosed with. So not that easy. But I want to ask you, you know, you have your ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
There are times, I'm sure, where you may be having some anxiety attacks. You know you're on this slippery slope and you're heading down. How do you pull yourself out?
It can be a number of things depending on you. I can feel it coming whether or not it's severe or not. But if I start, my heart starts to race, or I sweat, or looking around anxiously, then I have to ground myself. And sometimes I lay on the ground and count to 10. I don't care where I am. If it works, it works. And just taking a few minutes, close your eyes, listen to your breathing, listen to your heart and how it feels, and just really calming yourself in the moment to be present of what's around you and not what happened that made you upset or what's going to happen. Just being present.
So, all great suggestions again. Can we talk a little bit about every day? What does a typical day look like for you?
Every day is different. I would love to say that I have a stable schedule and I have stability in my life, but I don't. And I have to make the best of it. So, every day I try to wake up around the same time and do, a regular routine. Get up, shower, clean the house, do what I have to do. And then if I have nothing to do, I have to fill my day with things. But it can be moods up and down. It can be euphoria and bliss, and it can be just pure desperation, and so taking it as it comes, you just have to be ready for that. And how do you be ready for something you're not ready for? But, you take into the therapy that I've done, and, I work on my meds, and so through that, it does really help.
We learned, Rebecca, that recently you had a relationship split. We did not know that going on the air. Rebecca's available, by the way. Just throw that out there.
I'm going to put her number.
But, obviously, and it's recent, month and a half.
Yes.
And so now this is your day-to-day. And
Yeah.
I guess this is relationships must be difficult with your disorder. And so you got to kind of pick up your socks and live with it. And so how are you coping with that part of it?
It's been very difficult the past few months. I am on my meds. I am doing counseling, of course, but I'm starting all a new chapter again. I'm moving. It's everything. We've been living together, so now that's done and restarting over. I have things to look forward to, which is great, but I have to stay grounded often. Because, emotions come up, and, anger and sadness and depression and anxiety of everything. So this is the biggest time in my life right now for the next 2 months, where I really have to check myself often and not overexert myself, not push myself too much, because there's so much going on.
So I mentioned earlier that I had met you on and under, call it different circumstances, but you had told me one of the things that I found interesting, and why I asked you the question about what's a day-to-day routine, is because you're studying. So can you discuss what you're doing? Because it's important to me that people understand that life goes on.
It goes on. I'm 33, and I went back to school, and I never thought I would. Just never. And I work from home, and I just switched everything up. And it's starting over and going to school. I'm in hairdressing. And it's wonderful. It's a great fit for me, and I love being around people, and that's something I just strive in. So I definitely want to surround myself with that often.
Interesting. A couple of texts are coming in, Rebecca. We're just going to read them. You just answered your question, saying you're 33 years old, because one text said, "Are you retired, Rebecca?" Not quite retired.
Soon.
And obviously a raving fan saying, "How are you doing, Rebecca?" and keep it up. That's very, very good. Now, we talked about some outside help. You've obviously gone through some therapies. I think there's a couple great organizations that people can call today to find out a little bit more about if you've got issues, mental health, and try to get a little support. So can you rattle off a couple of them for us?
Absolutely. So there's Friends of Mental Health. They're amazing. Their number's 514-636-6885. And there's also AMI Quebec, which is great to call as well. They're 514-486-1448.
And so you call them, just you're having an open conversation?
It's an open conversation, and it gets to the root of the problem, is what they help you with, and then move you around to people that are going to benefit you. So having somebody that, can specifically deal with your issues and what you're going through at that time, because it could be different today and then in a week from now. So they assess it as you go.
And I guess the biggest step is to actually pick up that phone.
Pick up the phone.
Do it. Look at Rebecca. She's a phenomenal role model.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of the show today and sharing your story with us. I think it certainly
Very
touched
inspiring.
me and
Yeah.
very
Thank you,
inspiring.
Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you so much. And coming up after we hear the news, co-parenting in harmony. Is it possible? Well, we're going to hear about whether, in fact, and we're going to say it is, and learn about the author in the book, and find out how to focus on what really matters. So stay tuned, and let's head out to the CJAD newsroom.
Good afternoon.
That's fine. We got right on. What?
You didn't see what was going on.
No.
So David's in panic mode
Oh.
because Luciano's not there.
Oh.
I see him, and you didn't see me doing
No.
this. I'm stretching out.
Oh, I didn't see
he
that.
just stepped in his.
That's
in his
hilarious.
seat.
Last time
because
I
her back,
announced he was
I
coming,
could see
didn't
the
him. He
newsroom,
was there.
and her
I'm
back.
like, okay,
her
I
back
announced
is,
the
to
news,
the
and he's not
newsroom.
there. We did it.
Rebecca, fantastic.
Did it.
Really, really good.
Fabulous.
You know, it was. Thank you very much. Very natural from the heart. You know, and we love that. You know, and, yeah.
This
Way
is
to go.
driving me crazy. It's going in and out. My headset. Can I get another headset?
Well done.
Thank you.
Very, very well done.
Oh my goodness. It's like a mom hug.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm old enough.
Thank
Very
I'm
good.
old enough.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be your mom.
And that's how it's done, Anna.
Yeah, our son is younger than you. Anyway.
Yeah, our son.
Yeah.
Did you want to stay with us?
Yes, I would
oh,
like to.
oh, good.
Yeah,
All right.
welcome.
Very, very good. Anna, you get to say hello to Facebook again.
Hey, hi guys. Join in. Thumbs up, hearts. Let's go. Let's go. Hold on, go with this. I hope I want to be as natural as Corrie. Sorry, your name?
Rebecca.
I sound nervous.
There's something wrong
You know
with
what?
this plug.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. 'Cause I
Anna,
melted.
you just be who you are.
That's it.
You're 99.9% more knowledgeable than anyone else out
That's
there on the
right.
topic. So
Yeah, you see how it's done?
Yeah.
So just remember, you see what you're doing now? You can't do that.
Oh, I
You
can't
have
do
to
that.
talk right into the mic.
into the mic. There you go.
And we have
You're
fun.
looking at me.
And we pick
We're
it
going to
up.
be easy. There's no problem. Just
Yeah.
Corey, take a look. And we got lots of time. We got another 3 minutes or so.
You like the fight song or one I chose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my theme song.
Is it?
It has been for a long time.
Oh, it's extra hard to feel like Rebecca does when trying to hold a night job with no friends or family.
Oh.
Few texts come in. That's very good.
Yeah.
Sometimes none. So that's great. Yeah, Corey went right to the well with some of the. We picked two songs for the second half because we have news,
Yeah.
then we have an intro song, and then we have our traffic, and then another song.
Which song did you pick for this one?
Oh, wait.
Surprise.
I know which
Surprise.
one. I have an intuition.
Yeah?
I bet you the one of Michael Jackson that they sung this morning on Earth Day.
No.
Family for kids
Oh, I
and all
didn't
that.
know.
No?
She went way back.
Way
in.
You went
Oh
back.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She went 70s
Will I
on
hear
both
it?
of them.
Will I be able to hear it?
Well, you'll be able to hear on your phones.
I'll make sure you can. Telling you know all this, you don't need to.
Oh, I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
convey the right
And you
message.
and best piece of advice I ever got,
Yeah.
nobody knows what you didn't say. They only know what you said.
Well said.
And it's really, I thank you, Andy, if you're watching. Andy said it's we do a lot of speaking, and that's so true because you spend so much time, like, you know, and
And then you don't even say half what's written.
That's our sponsor. I'll be there. We still got a few more minutes. So, Corey, I'll open up, and then
Yeah.
you're going to introduce. Well, we'll do a little banter. I'm
Yeah.
going to mention a little something, and then you.
what are we?
introduce
Oh, you're going to talk about.
my co-parenting.
Yeah, that's good to get me started.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
He'll get you there.
Yeah.
Get me more
So
So
just
he'll
love you.
talk about it,
Yeah.
then I'll introduce you, welcome you to the show, thank you, and then I will ask you. Your first question is, how do you define co-parenting?
How do I define co-parenting?
Anagen Own.
Anagen Own. Did I say it right or no?
Yeah, you said it right. Yeah, I almost said, congratulations, Corey.
Give a little thumbs up.
Good, yeah.
The best because I was always saying I can't pronounce anybody's name, and so of course one of our guests said, okay, they're going to pronounce my name wrong, and they didn't, and then I get a text from somebody asking, instead of it was Patty, they said, how do I get a hold of Penny? I started to laugh. And we're going to go, I want to hear, I don't really even know it, but you're going to ask about your story. Why did you write? Like, why was this an issue? I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because Dana,
it's a long
Dana, it was a cold notes. Dana said, you have to hear, well, how? You don't know how.
Yeah. It stems from childhood. It stems from childhood. Like I said earlier, the children live what they live. The children live what they learn.
Yes.
Yes, and then sometimes we create the same pathology.
For sure. Well, we tend to. If we don't, unless we break it, nothing changes till something changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably one more.
One or two more minutes, for sure. Okay, if you plug this in somewhere underneath, you'll hear the song.
Did I take it off?
You can.
If you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can
Probably
only hear
better.
Yeah,
myself talk.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I
then
wanna
you
hear
take it off
myself
just
talk.
after the music comes in. Yeah.
Flew by. So now you get this adrenaline, like.
I actually wasn't nervous.
No, you didn't
I'm
show it.
always nervous.
Yeah, but you were terrific, articulate, clear,
Thank you.
comprehensive.
Here we go.
Unrehearsed on CJAD 800, brought to you by alavida.ca. Celebrate a life well lived before or after death.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delecchio here, specializing in free retirement home search and senior transition support, here with a giggling Corrie Sorota, specializing in grief and loss. She's a clinical social worker and psychotherapist, helping many, many families, Corrie, and giggling with our guest, Anna. You know, we're talking co-parenting now. And Corrie, as you know, I'm a divorced dad about 15 years ago. And for those that have either gone through it or in the process of going through a separation, it's never easy. It's not easy. And but I have to say, 15 years later, I'm quite proud of where I'm at with my ex in terms of our co-parenting arrangement. You know, there's been it's taken time, but there's lots of open communication. I think respect is a big part of it, Corrie. And you know, you get into disagreements quite often, but you really have to step back and say what's in the best interest of the children, and that's helped, at least in my situation. This is why we're excited to have our guest today to maybe validate that or not so validate it.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt, and that's why for me it was having seen a number of families and some not so nice situations. When I heard about this topic and had met Anna, I was very, very excited to have her on the show. And so I think that you will find that we're going to learn a lot. So, who is Anagen Own? Anagen Own is an advocate and a coach for co-parenting and harmony. She's also a motivational speaker. She's the best-selling author of not one but two books on co-parenting and harmony. One, The Art of Putting Your Child's Soul First, and the second one coming out in the spring of this year, Co-Parenting and Harmony, Creating the Ripple Effect. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you for
Anna.
having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we've been throwing out this term, co-parenting. I think it would be important for us to start with if you could give your definition of co-parenting, please.
Well, like Matt said, one of the major factor is respect. Is respecting each other, having healthy communication bonds between each other. It's about stability. It's about really focusing on the child's needs. It's not about what's going on with the parents' emotional distraught. It's about the child. It's putting the child on the right path. We want him, because we all love our children, and we are all amazing parents, but we're so clouded with our emotions, and we want to do everything we can for our children so they can become beautiful, good-hearted adults.
You know, and it's nice to hear you talk, and I wish we had a camera off air in the studio because you are so passionate about this topic. This really is your mission, Anna. And,
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm very interested to know how you even got into this and hear your story and why you are so passionate about it.
Well, it started off, we'll go back, I'll make it fast. I'm a child of divorce. I lived in this, my parents were always arguing, it was chaos. I had learning disabilities. At school, I had to be transferred in a specialized school, but the learning disabilities was all emotional. It was all about my emotions because I couldn't stand seeing my parents bad-mouthing each other, arguing, and so it really affected me. And then fast forward, I had to go to court, choose between my parents, choose which one I had to, to go and live with. And that created a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. And so I married my first marriage, and I divorced because I married for the wrong reasons. I married to regain my father's love because I chose my mother. I didn't choose my father. And so anyways, fast forward, then I met the man of my dreams who had a 3-year-old son then and a former spouse. And that's when my mission crystallized. That's what I understood, that I will not rob my bonus son of his childhood like I was robbed of my childhood, and be affected in the adulthood as well, because it does affect our decisions, our emotions. We're distraught, we're depressed, we have anxiety, and our decisions are based on how we feel emotionally, right? And so this is why I'm passionate about what I'm doing.
That is Anagen Own. She is a co-parenting expert and coach and author. And man, are you passionate? Which is really terrific. Your story is quite incredible, and what a mission you are on. And so we want to help others. So let's go right to basics. What are some of the basics that you are sharing with your families that you meet with about co-parenting?
What are the basics about co-parenting? Really, first major thing is know who you really are as a person. We are really, like I said earlier, we are good people. And divorce tends out to bring the worst in us. And then we end up changing of who we really are. So the basic thing is know who you really are. Have confidence in yourself. Don't feel threatened. Don't feel threatened with whatever's going on. The past is the past. Leave it in the past. And be mindful. Have a mindful approach. Today is today. You have to let go. And the other basic thing, what's really important that I like to express, you are no longer spouse partners. You are now only parenting partners, and that's what we need to focus on, parenting the child, to keep the sense of family.
Yeah, very interesting, and I like that terminology. And I often refer to my kids as my heroes. And Corrie, as you know, I do a fair amount of presentations and seminars, but there are other heroes in this whole co-parenting, from grandparents. Right. I'll even refer to my ex-wife as one of my heroes, yes, having to deal with children as well as we are. But I think some of the forgotten heroes are the step-parents and the stepchildren, and they play such a you're a stepmom, and
I'm a bonus mom. I don't like to say stepmom.
And I love that bonus mom. I have a bonus child as well from 3 years old, and so I think the role of step-parents are absolutely crucial to make this a harmonious arrangement.
Yes, we come into this family. We are an addition to the family. We are not a threat to the family. And parents and bonus parents, we all have our special traits, our special qualities. We all come into this family to bring something good, something positive. See, I like to focus on the positive. So we always bring something positive to the table to help our child, our bonus child, to evolve, to become that best person of him or herself. I'm very proud of my bonus son. He's 35 years old today, and I can tell you he's a well-balanced man, very successful family man, and a successful entrepreneur, and he's also a bonus dad and a bio dad as well. Wow. So we're very proud of him.
Well, amazing, amazing. You have a term that you use and you shared with us, conflict of loyalty. Can
Yes.
you explain what that is?
Well, conflict of loyalty is when divorced parents involve their children into their conflicts, their dispute, and they pull on them to make them choose sides. And I can attest to that, because that's what happened to me as well. What happens is that the parents are going to badmouth or parent humiliation of their child. They're going to pull and they create chaos, and then the child is confused, doesn't know who he loves, what he wants, or he feels sorry for their parents. He doesn't know if he should help them or not help them or protect them. It's really, really not a good thing. It's really bad to put the child in a conflict of loyalty.
Absolutely. Well, Anna, we're going to put you on the spot in just a second. We're going to head out to traffic. However, we want to know from you. We just want 3 tips. Okay, think about 3 tips you can give divorced or separated parents that they can start today to make effective co-parenting. Okay, so let's first head out to Lauren and get a traffic update.
I'm totally fine now. Am I totally fine?
No. And it's your passion that's come out. Your passion is coming out.
Yeah.
That's what.
I guess I want to say too much all at the same
But
time.
that is the because you think you don't know. Could you imagine why you don't now? I never understood why. What's the difference to do a phone interview? Because you don't know and you can't see that, so you just feel like you need to keep talking, and it's much harder to cut someone off on the phone. But it's not, and it's not about really cutting you off, but it's more wrapping up and talking in more succinct thoughts because we want to get it all out. I know I'm very long-winded.
Yeah.
So.
The battery's holding the charge?
Yeah, actually, that's a good.
So we're gonna come
I had to
back
change the
with
camera a bit.
adjusting
Sorry, cut off
the
Anna
so
for a
you're
little
gonna
bit.
have that.
Sorry, Anna. Now everyone can see you
And
properly.
then,
And the battery's strong. Look at that.
Right.
Wow.
What else, Matt? We're going to
Yes.
come back with the 3 tips. You're going to bring that back.
Yeah, what 3
And-
tips?
And then
My God, it went by fast.
maybe.
Well, wait
maybe
till you see, because at 4, we're going to be on at 4:40, 4:50ish, and we're out at 4:56.
Oh my God.
Actually,
by
at
fast.
4:55, we're
Yeah.
thanking you.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, you-
4:54 at the end, because you have
Yeah.
a book to promote
Yeah.
that we want to make sure we get out there. We have to be off air at 4:56, and we have to tease for next week's show. So around 4:40, 4:54. So we got about 4 minutes
So
for these
we're gonna,
3
so
tips,
you're going to 3 tips, and that's it, you think?
and then maybe have a secondary question on one of the tips, maybe.
Okay, I'll probably
Do you
come up with a
think
secondary
you
on
can
one
do
of
the
those.
3 tips without too much elaboration on each one?
Well, I can just go straight to it and not say why. Like, they need to hire a co-parenting coach to get a co-parenting plan well established. That will avoid conflicts. And then they need to focus, be child-centric.
No, that's fine. Okay, so that,
Yeah,
that way, and
that's
I'm
good.
going to ask you to
Just like that.
elaborate.
And
on
then the third one is to build a business-style team. By building a business-style team is that your language, you no longer have a spouse partner language, you have a
Okay,
business
so
style.
you're going to say that, and I'm going to ask, what does that business priority
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to elaborate.
Okay.
Linda texted, we like to say daughters or sons in love,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
mothers or fathers in love rather than in love. So
Yeah.
we're definitely going to get that out there.
Okay.
That's nice.
Come to Spinelli, the best dealers in Montreal. Now until April 29th.
When I came the first time, it was about the beach vacation. They wanted to know.
I want that.
They
That's
want
what
to know
we
the
need to
beach
say. That.
vacation.
I'm going to say
Okay.
something about you are a perfect example of this. Can you just share with it?
So the 3
Okay.
tips, bing bang boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be
And
Then
then-
perfect
and
example.
sort of segue
I'm
into
going
that.
to say because
Yes.
you are someone who practices what you preach.
Yeah, I
And-
walk the
and
talk.
so-
Yeah.
So that we'll do that. You walk it. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah, okay.
And then so we got to get that. And then
beach
Matt's going to
vacation, yeah.
thank you. I'm going to thank.
You're going to thank, and I'm going out to.
Okay.
Actually, that text it's related to in-laws.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's
steps.
not. It's not step parents.
Yeah.
No.
So.
I don't know why. Did I say in-laws?
No.
No,
I didn't
no,
say in-laws.
no.
So we'll skip that one.
So my question is,
You
tell
said
the story.
you didn't even say step. What was the word you used?
Bonus.
Bonus.
Bonus. Yeah. Well,
Well-
you said step. I have a stepdaughter. I said I don't like saying step. I prefer bonus because there's more
So-
close
so
to the
true.
connection.
And that's what I call them, bonus daughters.
Bonus
So I
daughters,
just
yeah.
used the general term. you know,
Yeah,
but
no.
I'm glad you jumped right all over that.
Thank you.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Hey, I learned so much from this child. I mean, he was 3 years old, and let me tell you, this child we learn from our children. And this child taught me a lot. Oh my God, he taught me unconditional love. What unconditional love was, not only for him, but for myself.
Yeah,
As
you
a
gained as
friend.
much
Yes.
as you needed. Yeah,
The
yeah.
fact that you said you got to be comfortable with yourself. And
Yeah.
that's it. That's why you're
That's
able
it.
to do
Yeah.
that.
So I learned a lot from this child. Oh my God.
And that's
How long are you
32 years.
It's been 33 years we're together. Second marriage.
Quite
And we,
clear.
and we had a roller coaster ride, we had our roller coaster ride, but we did the work.
Of course, but every relationship is a roller
Yes,
coaster ride.
exactly. And we did the work. Yeah. Oh, he's the love of my life.
Hello?
I couldn't live
Now
without him.
we're back on. Listen to the song. Now we went from the breaking up to the more positive.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Del Vecchio here with Corrie Sirota, and we have the amazing Anagen Own talking to us about co-parenting in harmony. And Anna, your passion is addictive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Really, really
I'm
good.
truly grateful. Thank you.
So we told you we're going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. If you had to choose your 3 best tips or best advice that you can give parents that are going through this right now, what would you suggest?
Well, the first one, I suggest that they hire a co-parenting coach to build a co-parenting plan, a well-defined co-parenting plan that will avoid conflicts. The second one, be child-focused. Be child-focused. Focus on what truly matters, your child's well-being. And the third one, create a business-style relationship.
What does that mean?
A business-style relationship is you talk to your former spouse like as if you were talking to your boss, your colleague. So you change your language, the way you speak to each other. You don't speak to each other like spouse partners anymore. You speak to each other like business partners, and that will help you to move forward in co-parenting and harmony.
So it helps because it helps you disassociate and not bring in the
Exactly.
emotion.
It helps you shift your mindset. It's a shift in mindset.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, the other thing that I know that is fascinating about you is that this isn't just academic, this is good practice. You walk the talk. So can you share with everyone some of the stuff that you do is pretty unique.
Yes, I walk the talk and I live it. I went on a beach vacation with my husband's former spouse and his former ex-laws, I should say, brother and sister, ex-laws. We all went on a beach vacation, and we all did it for our bonus son, well, my bonus son, for his love. We went on a cruise together. We do Christmas together. We do holidays together. We do birthdays together. We were always together, and I'm proud to say we achieved successfully co-parenting in harmony. And the way my husband sees his former spouse is like an old friend. So by seeing her like an old friend, all the animosity, the resentment, the anger, it's all gone. We're able to move forward and to enjoy beautiful moments in the big family, a nice big blended family.
Listening to you, Anna, I'm sure there's some people listening saying, no
way.
way.
For
This
sure.
is not
For
going
sure.
to happen. But you give hope.
Yes,
and
I
I
do.
would like to say in my own personal situation as well, constantly over at the house with the other, I'm not supposed to use stepdad, right? I'm supposed to use
Bonus dad.
Bonus dad, all right.
Yeah.
And, we're watching golf together and
Amazing.
hockey, and it takes time, it takes work, but for those, if you're in the middle of it right now, there is hope, and it will take work, but I'd love to hear those types of story, Anna, because that, at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. Just
It's all
never
about
forget about
Okay, so that's what I have heard a great expression. I'd love for you to comment on it. The expression is you have to love your children more than you dislike your spouse.
Exactly. Divorce is a significant change. However, when you're able to disassociate, shift in mindset from spouse partners, and just only parent partners, then divorce is just a family change. That's it. It's just a family change. And we continue.
You were mentioning off air that you need to have confidence in order for this to happen. You need to have confidence in yourself.
In yourself, of who you are as a person,
You
yes.
can't be threatened was, I think, the term you used,
Yes.
right? And once you overcome that, because I think it's only natural to feel threatened in one way or another, but you were saying, you know, if you're not threatened, things get a heck of a lot easier.
Well, the reason why we all feel threatened is because somewhere along the line we're afraid we're not going to have our place. Somewhere along the line we feel that we're not going to be loved and we're going to be pushed aside. You know, bio parents, bonus parents, everyone in the mix. So that's why we feel threatened. But knowing that we do have our place in our child's heart, because a child's heart is big enough to love everyone in the mix. So we don't have to fight for their love. It's done naturally. It is. It's naturally. And so once we're okay with ourselves and okay with the situation and understand the situation, and the reason why we're in this situation is to help this child live his childhood or her childhood and thrive in their adulthood, because we don't want them to pass it on in their new relationship when they become adults, because then they're all mixed up, they're all confused, and they're always in conflicts as well. So we need to avoid this. So they need to seek a co-parenting coach.
Fantastic. Great advice. Talk to me about your books.
Well, my second book is coming out, Co-Parenting in Harmony, Creating a Ripple Effect, because whatever actions, all actions that we do, it has a ripple effect, positive or negative. My book focuses on positive. Me being a bonus mom and a parent as well. And so it's coming out this spring, 2018, and right now I'm in pre-sale campaign. You can go on my website.
So that's how do people get a hold of you?
www.anagenoni.com. Go on my website. They can also reach me on my website, send me an email, and I will be glad to answer all your questions.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much for giving of your time, your expertise, and your passion.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm truly grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. All right, next week, Corrie, we have another great show planned. We have the power of music, and we'll be talking with a music therapist, how it could heal, how it could simply just change moods. And we have the one and only Amy Fish that will be talking to us about how to advocate for your loved one. It might be for your student son or daughter at school, or maybe for your parents in the healthcare system. You know what? After hearing Amy, we may be going about it all wrong. So you can catch us on Life Unrehearsed every Sunday at 4 o'clock. Thank you for joining us.
I hope you put some hearts and some thumbs up.
Way to go.
Wow, this
Fantastic.
went fast.
It flies by.
Oh my God. You're right. I didn't
So,
even need
That's because but if it makes you feel better, but if you have them, you can tend to look at them too much, and then you're not being
natural.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which you were fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And
Excellent.
I know we're going to hear about how great the show was. We are going to, it's on Facebook Live, so you can share it. We are going to send you an MP3 so you can download it. You have to download it of the recording without the commercials, so you can share that as well with people, so they can listen to the audio or they can look at the Facebook.
Yes.
You can say bye to Facebook.
Bye. Bye, Facebook.
So someone wrote, yes, way, Hannah. I guess Hannah's the one. Yes,
Who, Dana?
Hannah. Yes, way.
Hannah. No.
Hannah is, I don't know if Hannah's the person.
They
I don't know.